see how this draft unfolds.
And Splice is a team we always talk about in the LEC that are good at preparing against their opponents, so we'll have to see what kind of counters they have up their sleeves. Already, the standard bans for Splice throughout the entire tournament thus far has been Pantheon and Syndra, and then leaving open one ban to target away at the opponent. That's where we could think something like the Heimerdinger is focused down, or perhaps even Morgana if they want to lock in that Zyrocon early.
And surprised to see Unicorns of Love be the ones to ban the Qiyana away. Of course, nothing that Xerxes hasn't pulled out. It has been incredibly powerful, but would have the luxury of first picking it if it was there. Splice also being the team to ban away Rakan. So a lot not necessarily going as I might have expected it coming to this pick ban.
Yeah, this is a little curious here. We'll have to see what they do end up going for, because another pick, as both the Lovers duos get eliminated from the map, is the Gangplank. For Vizicsacsi up in the top lane has been such a good fallback pick for him. If it's not first picked here on the side of Unicorns of Love, it would have to be for Splice.
But it is. And it is indeed first pick, and most likely going into the hands of Boss, and this makes a ton of sense. Gangplank has been a very solid pick for both these top lanes.
So now I'm looking at Kabe probably prioritizing the Kai'Sa. That's been his sort of go-to pick once the Xayah is removed from the board. But no, it's going to be the Cho'Gath for Vizicsacsi in the top lane. I like this. A more unique pick for him. He does love those tanks that have fallen out of flavor.
And look, Ender, if you're at home and you're watching, you're like, Casters, you told me that Splice were going to draft the normal stuff. We were wrong. And you had to wonder, Vizicsacsi, how is he going to go toe-to-toe with Boss? Well, this is your answer. He's going to pull out something new, but also something old. Historically, Chachi has been, a fantastic Cho'Gath when it's been in meta, and now we have to find out if this is the latest pick to join the rotation on 9/19, but the Kha'Zix now come, it's a full Void part.
Yeah, I don't know which Void monster I want to talk about here, because Cho'Gath, you figure, in lane against the GP, does have pushing options. With those Vorpal spikes, he has the ability to clear waves relatively quickly, and has gank assist in the form of the Q knockup if Xerxes does want to get involved topside early on. But on the other side of the board, we have to talk about the Kha'Zix, because this is a pick that has been picking up so much steam in solo queue, but we haven't really seen that transition over to the professional stage. This is a terror. Once you get that first evolution, a lot of people like to look for that R evolve to maximize the passive damage and really just get scrappy inside of the jungle.
And find out what the early jungle matchup looks like. Xerxes going for the Nocturne, something we've seen him have success on domestically, but not necessarily something you would normally associate with a lot of early game impact. The final pick will be the Thresh, locked in from the side of Splice, taking something away from Edward, making sure Northscaring gets something that he's comfortable on. But Kai'Sa and Xayah are both taken away from Kabe, so he's going to have to dig a little bit deeper into that champion pool of his to find something that can work for the team.
We did see him pull for that Jhin, the last day that he did play on the stage here at Worlds, after a lot of marksman bans were thrown his way. And I sort of expect to see Unicorns of Love go for that strategy, because right now you've matched top lane picks, you've matched jungle picks. Unicorns have that ADC locked in already, so you can try to limit the pool here from Kabe, while Splice, as you would expect, are trying to take away safe engage options for Edward. He loves that Nautilus picked down in the bottom lane, and with the Rakan banned away, the Thresh picked as well, a lot of his tools and options are running out. The Alistar is the other one that I think would be a good fit into his wheelhouse.
Of course, the options being pulled away in the AD carry department as well. The Jinx, an interesting one for me, not necessarily something I would immediately associate with. Honestly, any player in the current meta has obviously seen a few fringe picks, but not something that's been picked up on the regular. The Twisted Fate, though, does make a lot of sense. We were talking about earlier today. Very safe champion,
right.
Can do a lot for the team if it's not put behind early in the game.
And this is something Splice do a lot on red side, is they will ban the Twisted Fate away, and then another pick like the Nautilus that we saw here, and then save their mid lane pick for last. Make sure you get the counter pick there. You already know what the ADC is going to be on the other side, so while you don't know the support, I think Kabe should be more than happy to lock in his marksman right here, so that Humanoid can get a hard counter matchup up against No Man's, who typically looks for more scaling picks.
Ooh, this is interesting, but instead they're going to lock in the Akali for Humanoid. They ban the TF away. The Syndra is gone as well. Maybe they feel like all of the solid laning matchups into it are gone. The Pantheon, the Qiyana also taken off the board, and they're going to give last pick to Kabe in the ADC position, and it's a wide open pool. Kabe plays a lot of different champions, huge champion pool. He mostly plays them only one time each. He plays like 10 Kai'Sa games, then one of every other champion, but still, something that you do have to respect, and for now, UOL going to lock in the rest of their composition. The Morgana for Edwards, something that's been banned a ton, and the scaling for No Man's in the mid.
And this is what I was sort of concerned about with Humanoid locking in something like the Akali so early on. Now No Man's, who likes to play these scaling picks, knows what his matchup is going to be. So he grabs himself the KO UOL, who isn't going to really be pressured pre-level 6 until he gets his range by something like the Akali. And then once Akali comes online with that ultimate, that ult cooldown is over 2.5 minutes long on the side of Akali, so No Man should have the safety he needs to survive in that mid lane.
Well, when push comes to shove, it's time for the Kabe Jhin. You know, something that he has always gone back to. Most people think of Sneaky, Reckless, some of the first adopters of this champion, but Kabe has always been going back to it when his champion pool has been focused. When all the priority picks have been taken away, you can rely on it, and it does give a lot of setup for the side of Splyce, a lot of follow-up as well.
It's really interesting because both these compositions have very strong, assassin junglers, fighters in the mid lane as well. But I consider they don't have a lot of hard engage. They have a lot of soft engage tools from range. The Gangplank ultimate on one side. They have to play off the Evolve W slow from Kha'Zix as well as the bindings from Edward. While the side of Splyce, they have Thresh hooks. They have Jhin from range to try and slow down targets, and then Nocturne to go ahead and fly on in here. So these compositions are not going to be the easiest to execute whatsoever, but I definitely think that the emphasis needs to be on Splyce to make plays early, because scaling certainly goes to the side of UOL with both the Gangplank and the Kayle.
And have to see, can they weather the storm? Can they survive the early game? Splyce not necessarily set up to make plays pre-6 with the likes of Nocturne. That said, you have to respect the CC setup of a Cho'Gath, the CC setup of a Jhin. Both these teams putting a lot on the table here in Game 1. Splyce showing us something new in the Cho'Gath, a return to something old in the form of Kabe's Jhin, and Morgana. You got the GP, you got the KO. I just feel like this is a UOL special on the opposite side.
Yeah, I really like a lot of the options they got here. The scaling threat with the Gangplank and that global ability. And then Ananasik. Everyone's eyes are going to be on the jungle matchup here and whether or not Ananasik can use this Kha'Zix to pop off early.
It's time to see one final spot in the group stage remaining. Hong Kong Attitude, Clutch Gaming, Damwon Gaming. But if you can't hear that, that is the sound of the Unicorns of Love fans. And they are here. They are loyal till the end, no matter what league, no matter where they go. The UOL fans follow, and now it is following them to Berlin. But level 1 setup is something that we have to keep our eye on, Ender.
Look at this prep here. They know that Boss is going to be in the bush. 5 members collapsing onto the Gangplank. Boss is going to have to flash.
Pull back. Really not what he wants. Flashing out in that early lane will be much more difficult. Rupture, not the hardest skill to dodge out when you have boots, but in the early laning phase, it's going to be very difficult to deal with. And now I think I want to bring us back. Actually, I'm going to hold that thought. Make sure the rest of this level 1 doesn't result in any kind of bloodshed. But it looks like Edward spotted on a ward. Humanoid knows not to push any deeper. Xerxes will get a bit of a leash from North Scare, and as Kabe walks over a bit late, but should be fine to get to lane on time.
So seeing Xerxes go start on the bottom side of his jungle right now is, I think, a very clever move from him so that he can pick up his blue buff and then get up towards the top side of the map, because ideally there is room to maybe bully out the Gangplank. Now, we talked about the Cho'Gath versus GP matchup a little bit in the draft, and push is definitely going to go the way of Vizicachi, especially because Boss is going to be handing over a leash right off the bat. But this is a situation now where I think that if they were to try to set up a bounce off that tower around the 3-minute mark and then look to gank Boss when he is exposed in that lane after it pushes back, that Xerxes and the rest of Splyce should be looking for that type of move.
And a rough trade for No Man's in the mid lane, but I do want to keep talking about this jungle matchup because I do think it is pivotal for these teams, especially when you look at the way that both players have played over the course. And you can see a lot more activity, Xerxes, a lot more K+A. He has been the catalyst for a lot of this team's early game action. That said, on the opposite side, one thing you don't see here for Ananasik, something that you track very closely, Ender, is his ability to counter jungle.
Exactly. Out of all the junglers we've seen so far play at Worlds, he has the highest counter jungle percentage of anyone, and that is because he loves to play high risk, high reward League of Legends where he gets into the enemy jungle and tries to steal away camps. He is the unpredictable jungler. He is the risky jungler for sure, and in a lot of games, the end result is that he gets a really big lead and is able to use that to carry. But also, there are games for Unicorns of Love where he is a problem, where he does get punished, and that's where I think this jungle matchup becomes so interesting, because Xerxes is a guy that's never going to lose the game for Splyce. He's the consistent rock that, likes to outthink his opponents and try to track them. Sometimes he's the one to pop off early game and get them that lead, but never going to be letting them down. And when you see these two styles clash, one of them will come out on top. Either Xerxes and Splyce can track Ananasik, or Ananasik is going to be able to build up big leads on his own.
And one difficult point for Unicorns of Love at this moment in time is that Splice have 2 pushing lanes right now in their favor. Vizicachi for now able to sustain that top lane push, and Kale, of course, pre-6 early on can proc Klepto, but can't really do much else to interact with the wave.
So a little bit earlier, I was talking about bouncing the wave in the top lane, and basically what that means is full pushing it in into the tower so that the minion wave will die to the tower before the enemy's minion wave arrives, and then the lane will reset where both minions are in the center of the lane. And Vizicachi missed that window by just a little bit. He was a little bit late on that push, so a gank top lane was not going to be ideal. Now you see that a little bit, though, with a lot of ranged minions on Boss's side. That lane is going to push in towards Splice's side.
Bouncer looking pretty good. Xerxes, is he going to go for the play? Of course, you have the oranges, but it won't stop the knockup.
Oh.
Bit awkward there. Vizicachi walking down, trying to look tasty, but here comes Xerxes. Red buff the flash forward. The fear now proc. Boss is going to need to get out, but he's not going to have a chance. First blood comes through. And remember, that flash was gone from level 1. A fantastic punish from Splice.
And this is the early game plan we are talking about, and Boss gets sort of hung out to dry right there with the lane pushing away from him because Ananasik started topside and pathed on downward. He had no jungle attention, and lane was in a position where he was able to be ganked. And this is what I mean when we talk about Xerxes. They come in with a very solid level 1 plan. He's able to get that flash with the team and then time that gank around the 3 to 4 minute mark, just like we would have expected.
And that's going to put them in a bit of a difficult situation. I mean, falling behind a Cho'Gath is never ideal. Despite not seeing the champion recently, I can remember him getting feast before you get your ult. It's a pretty miserable experience. And for No Man's, he's just surviving here, but I feel like he's just going to have to give up a tower plate in this mid lane at some point.
One of the hard things to do when you're playing a melee mid laner is actually get the tower plate. So while Humanoid is going to be pushing in all the time, you need consecutive waves to build up, and it's the minions that do most of the damage. And then you sort of walk forward for that one cheeky auto attack to get the plus 160 gold. But Humanoid going to be using the TP to get back into lane, and he is building up quite a CS lead. So while we talked about in draft, No Man's did have in theory the counter pick, the laning phase is not where it's working out for him. Where No Man's thinks it's going to be beneficial is the fact that he will be able to scale up and then become very strong.
Oh, potentially a big mistake from Inax stepping forward there. Black Shield now already used. Xerxes just going to walk his way in. Edward in trouble. The exhaust comes out. Surely set to fall. Xerxes grabbing another kill, but Humanoid on the way.
Humanoid on the way. There's 4 versus 1 under the tower. Inax, he's going down.
Xerxes taking the tower for now, just getting the setup, just trying to make it as clean as possible. Kave just going to fade away there. Captive audience indeed. So easy to land the Deadly Flourish on that one and knock him out.
Hey, this early game already reminding me of day 1 Xerxes, but now Ananasik trying to make his move in the top lane. Vizicachi does have the flash, but not a lot of HP.
And level 6.
He can turn this.
He can just try to commit to the play here. Knockup does not connect, though. Maybe this is the moment where they can turn. Boss can't get any lower, but he practices grasp. The flash forward, the silence. Chachi wants it so bad, but he's just walking away. That is one very alive Tyrant and one very dead Void Monster on the top side.
Vizicachi trying real hard to pick up that kill, but not quite in range. Unicorns will have needed this in the early game because already Xerxes was running over the map. You see this play down bottom lane. Very, very smart coming through from them. You see the Black Shield goes on to Inax, and Edward, he has nowhere to go. The hook immediately goes on down towards him, and even through the exhaust, Xerxes is able to pick up the kill. This is now a 2-0-1 Nocturne pre-level 6, so he's going to have his warrior finished pretty soon with that level 6 mark, and then you just can't beat this guy.
And just credit to the side of Xerxes. Hold that thought. Nanasik is going to get knocked up. Feast is on the way. And Nanasik's going to try to jump over the wall, but there is definitely someone waiting for you there in the darkness. How fitting. And Nanasik now forced to flash away. Humanoid's there too! How many people are going to stand in front of this man? There was no path out. He jumps, surprise Splice member. He leaps, surprise Splice member.
This is exactly what I was talking about, though, Dracos. Ananasik will go for these invades so often. And one thing we didn't get to set up is that Splice as a team, they listen to Xerxes. He is so vocal on this roster, so when he thinks he's getting counter-jungled, you better believe that the rest of his team is going to respond. Vizicachi was just walking the lane, but Humanoid was called all the way up to pick up that kill.
And look, if people stop killing each other for 30 seconds here, we got to take stock of what's happened. Because Splice, they were crushing before the kills started coming in. They already had 1,000. Now they're up about 2K in their favor. And this is only going to go from bad to worse as the Nocturne continues to get ahead. The Warrior enchantment now coming through. But this is what you said they needed to do, Ender. You said the scaling very clearly on the side of UOL. UOL are not getting the chance to scale.
Not even a little bit, and that's going to be super problematic for them, especially now as Humanoid has a kill and an assist in mid lane, already has the Sork shoes, and there's no MR on the opposite side, so he's always going to have control over this mid lane, I feel like, for quite some time, because, he can just drop the Shroud and then spam out the Shurikens to try and clear away the minion waves. Now Xerxes is going to be spotted out on vision here, but I don't really know Ananasik and the Unicorns of Love can do much about it. They do have Cannon Barrage to get involved in this fight, but Xerxes is just so strong at the moment. Just the advantage of having Warrior as opposed to the Caulfields and Blue Smite on the other side is a bonus 40 AD for the Nocturne, which is a gigantic number in any kind of fight.
And now the Mountain as well, which is going to make it that much easier in the fights to come. And this is just not a team comp that you want to be behind. Because if you try to start a fight on a Jhin and you start to lose, you're not getting away, he has ultimate. And the same is true for a Nocturne. Try to start a fight on a Nocturne, he still has ult, you better be sure that you are going to win, or it's just going to completely fall apart.
Yeah, be scared of the damage dealers, but also be scared of Vizichachi, because yes, he's fallen down once, but you look at the Unicorns of Love, they're very low range composition. Even Kale and Kaisa, when they do have range, are on the lower end of a lot of carries. So Vizichachi, he has so much effective output when people are nearby him, because the Rupture becomes easy to land, you can land a multi-man silence as well, and then the Feast comes in, you can't react. He's very good at setting up for his team just instantly burst through targets. So that makes team fighting on a champion like the Kazakhs even more difficult, because if you get silenced when you go in for an assassination, you just sort of sit there while you get one shot by the Feast as well.
And it is brutal, but once again, the pressure is now on Splyce to execute. You see Ananasik moving in for a bit more counter jungling. High risk, again, I think very high risk, but he does have pressure on the top side, so it won't cost him too much. Needs to be careful though. Ulti now coming in, might want to turn his sights on a Vizichachi. He doesn't even know Humanoid's there. Time for a bit of stealth and time to leap away. I don't think it's going to be enough. Ooh, he's juking, but it's not good enough to stop Humanoid. Chasing him down. Is there another proc on the ult? Won't even matter. One more auto. Humanoid just cleans it up.
Really nicely played right there. Humanoid always on the roam. How he often picks up his kills back in the LEC, but working very well with Xerxes, I feel, whether it was punishing the invade attempt from Ananasik or getting up topside to make that gank happen. It's going super well for him, and he's making it on good timings too, because he's not falling behind in CS. A lot of that is carried over from the early laning phase, but oh man.
Stricken Flip connects, that's huge damage. Electrocute proc is gone. There's no Gunblade here. Humanoid just smashing in trades, and this is something that I think we have to talk about. Humanoid's playing well with the team, but also Kale's a scaling pick, yes, but right now Kale is just useless, losing lane pressure constantly, and Humanoid has been on the top side repeatedly.
And it's really interesting because usually you think about Kale and she's really good into most assassins, because most assassins rely on their ultimate to actually kill you. But because Akali has such a low cooldown on her Q spam as well as the Shroud, she can take a lot of extended trades against you and just whittle you down without even needing to pop her ultimate. So get one more look in the top lane, the perfect setup from Vizichachi to get Bust low enough. Not quite able to get the bonus stats with the Feast mark right there, but Humanoid plays this very, very nicely as well, using all the gap closers to make sure Ananasik has nowhere to go.
Difficult, and you can see No Man's continuing to get pressured out in the mid lane. Things very quickly going from bad to worse. 2.8k in the favor of Splyce on top of the Mountain Drake. Good news for the Unicorns of Love is the Herald has gone in their favor. Edward now stepping in. The Binding won't connect. They're just trying to help No Man's push out. Things get a bit easier for the KO. Obviously, now that she's level 6, has the range, was nerfed a bit. I believe 525 now. Will be 575 as she gets more stacks, of course. But, yeah, Ender, at this point, it just feels like Splyce are completely dictating the pace of the game, and it's just on UOL to grab what they can.
Well, it's going to get even faster, too. Norskaren walked into the enemy jungle to put down Deep Vision to make sure that this play was going to be easy. Now, Xerxes going to miss the spell shield right there and take a little bit of damage as the Rift Herald is placed in the top lane. So this is a chance right now for Unicorns of Love to get a lot of money. All they need to do is hold on bottom lane. And with the Cannon Barrage too, if the push does come through, I think Boss can use that to stall out a counter siege from the side of Splyce.
They're going to go for the dive on either side though. Nocturne ulti now coming in. Black Shield goes golden, uses the stopwatch, tries to buy by the time, but Xerxes gets down to the tower. He turns on to Norskaren. Norskaren, the perfect highway, the perfect avenue of escape. They're going to get that kill as well, but the hook still goes through from the corpse of Norskaren. Inax is going to be forced to flash away. Comet trying to swag it up, but it can't happen. But no, Humanoid here to clean up the fight. Splyce coming on top for now. The flash right into the Binding. Here comes the curtain call, but it's not going to be curtains for anyone. One more, maybe? One shot connects. Humanoid wants to finish it off. No Man's there to block. Not even necessary, but now he's rooted. The stopwatch kills him. This is an insane skirmish. Sight of
top lane.
And Chachi's still getting dived. The knockup is there. Ananasik goes in. Ananasik goes golden. They're going to finish it off. One shot, one kill. No!
He's taking the tower!
Visit Chachi! It stops it actually!
Unbelievable right there, because Splyce do win the extended dive in the bottom lane. Humanoid picking up 4 kills now. 4-0-1. And Vizichachi even able to trade on the top side of the map. It is just continuing to stack more and more in the favor of Splyce. And the more the Unicorns try to force plays, it feels like the worse they end up here, Dracos.
But you look at the gold ender. Still 1.3K between them. And Unicorns of Love clearly a lot more confidence to take these plays. And we are getting a kill a minute at this point, so look, I'm not complaining.
It's exciting. That's for sure. Watch this play down bottom side one more time because the Cannon Barrage, I feel like, comes in straight underneath the tower to try and pick up a kill. That's what we were waiting for, to maybe clear away the minion wave. But then Norscairn to land the last second hook and eventually set up for Kagame to try to get this kill. The ultimate effectively wasted here from No Man's. Inax gets down not a whole lot of bonus damage off of that spell. If No Man's held on to that, this dive underneath the tower probably would have gone even better for the Unicorns, but ultimately a nice Zonius from Edward will delay the inevitable, but Kabe is perfect on the timing right there to make sure that that kill does go over. And the top lane just continues here. Vizicachi landing everything on towards Boss, who tries to flash away, but then realizes he picked up the tower. Not sure quite how that happened, whether it was Corrupting Potion keeping him in combat with Vizicachi, or perhaps the passive stack right there. And that does look odd visually, but the knockup made it...
Well, that's like the only time you get a true headshot in League of Legends. You're literally knocked in the air. It's the only part of the hitbox you can hit. There you go. And here we go. Breakneck pace of game. UOL speeding it up. We have to check in on the gold once again. 1.5K difference, but Jin obviously very comfortable on the Swifties plus the Infinity Edge. And UOL have managed to get a lot of turret plates, courtesy of the Rift Herald crashing. But can they actually get anything done against Vizicachi? This man has been a rock on the top side.
Well, it's interesting, right? Because we've been saying, you know, everything going pretty well for Splice, but I think Unicorns of Love are coming out of this, you know, only at 1,500 gold down. They do have a lot of scaling options on their side. So if they can keep this gold gap just about the same for the next 10 minutes, they're going to be looking real happy. But at the same time, Splice do now have all the tools to try and accelerate the pace of the game. You know, you finished off the first item, Gunblade for Humanoid, the Infinity Edge for Kabe, all the damage is there. And on top of that, you have the Righteous Glory from Vizicachi, which is going to be so brutal when trying to set up ganks onto Boss in side lanes. You run him down with Xerxes coming around, that's free kills every time.
The ultimate, trying to find the knock, will not connect on the Boss. Xerxes now locked up under the tower. The GPL not coming out. Xerxes has to be careful, but Vizicachi's there to tank. He tanks one too many. No, perfectly placed.
Oh.
He's still going to get the 1-for-1, though. Messy tower dives back to back. Vizicachi's still going to get one, but the 1-for-1 in the end.
Yeah, it felt a little bit overforced. Now Unicorns have a chance to attack on the opposite side of the map. No one here can respond unless TPs do come through, but it is very hard to dive onto Akali because of her Shroud.
Also, she's 4-0-1 and has a Gunblade.
Sure.
But KO is pushing in. Obviously, full stacks, level 11 now coming through. Important point for the KO. Just continues to get stronger and stronger. One item done. And as we mentioned, scaling an important thing to consider for the side of Unicorns of Love. They're fighting like they're dead even in the game, which is something that you definitely have to respect, but Splice can't afford to fumble and put more gold into the pocket of GP like this.
So I think the coordination here just wasn't quite there. The Q missing from Vizicachi at first, and then he's just sitting on the edge of tower range saying, I can tank tower shots for you, but I think he maybe would have been better off just committing into that fight right off the bat, popping his ultimate, and then trying to escape. But ultimately, I think fumbled that tower dive just a little bit.
No Man's looking a lot more confident now. Oh, you spent the first 11 games or 11 levels of the game, Humanoid, bullying this lane out, but things are starting to look a lot more difficult. Almost impossible to use a full burst rotation when Kayle has that ultimate just available to save her life at any point.
It's really interesting how Splice are trying to play the map right now because they're actually leaving Humanoid on the weak side. All the, you know, the river line of vision is this pathway up towards top lane where Humanoid isn't going to be around. They just want to continue to bully Boss here, probably because they think they have a better shot of diving a Gangplank than a Kayle.
I mean, Chachi's just getting tanked here. This tower is going to do negative damage to him in a few minutes. They're going to walk right under here. Boss, I don't think he can make his way out of this one. Chachi tanks a few extra shots, and they pick up the kill. It's been a long time since you've seen a tank in the top lane, but that is the power. It's very easy to dive.
You call that a tank, I call that someone with a lot of HP that still assassinates you, because Cho'Gath doing a whole lot of work right there as they're able to push out that lane and deny minions. I actually wonder if this is the type of game where you mind leaving that tower up to keep looking for dives as bot lane. Dive in progress.
Ulti comes out. Humanoid though just waiting, can leap back in right as it falls. No Man's backing out. Black Shield is there. Humanoid shut down. Tons of gold now going into the pocket of the Cossacks. They're going to grab the tower as well. Just as Splice grabbed one. Very even play, but now the GP might just be dead once again. It's not even the GP, it's the Kaisa trying to leap to safety. Vizicachi on the hunt. Not going to be enough. That's Attack on Titan if I've ever seen it. Way too easy for Vizicachi to just walk up and out of that one.
All right, so both sides of the map going to be trading here right now. I think Unicorn's going to be like, okay, No Man's, you're getting your money, even though Boss is getting denied. we were always going to rely on Kale more in the late game. But for Splice, very, very happy with the sequence events. Now that they've knocked out that mid lane tower as well, they can put that vision deeper inside of Unicorn's territory. You already see that effect going on that blue buff side of the Unicorn's jungle. And next, the transition is going to be towards this Infernal Drake spawning in 30 seconds. All of Splice and Unicorns resetting onto the map to potentially contest around this objective. But there are some key ultimates down, you know. All the ultimates except for Edwards on the side of Unicorns. But the Paranoia going to be missing from Xerxes. Humanoid should have it up soon, so Splice will want to pull the trigger.
Now in trouble. Anonysek gonna sidestep there. Xerxes has to run for the hills. VOD now running into the midst of the team. The flash out from Anonysek. No Man's needs to retreat. Kale ult not available. That should be one dead Kale. VOD grabs that one. Curtain call now comes out. They're behind the play. That makes the Jin so incredibly strong. One more shot. Will not connect. Good patience from Anonysek to hold on to the leap. But still, Edward will get knocked up. Still, the Jin is chasing down. Boots of Swift is tearing him in. And a beautiful hook from Northscarin. 2 more for Splice, and their gold lead just explodes.
Splice knew the window they needed to find the fight right there with the spells, with the items under their belt. And now they take full control as they look for even more. Tachi gets taken very, very low, but they can easily recall here and look for the Infernal.
Kabi just absolutely fearless. Continuing to step forward. Xerxes is now going to grab the 3rd Drake of the game. 3 for 3 for the side of Splice. 4K gold lead. For a while there, it was looking pretty even. Unicorns of Love trading blow for blow, but once again, Splice very much in control.
But I really have to question why Unicorns think fighting there is so key, because all of their ultimates were down, or at least 4 of the 5, Edward, the only one holding on to it. At the same time, this is where Splice as a composition are going to be so much stronger than the Unicorns. The lead, especially between Vizichachi and Boss, going to be massive. And Kai'Sa wasn't even in the fight at the start. They thought they could just assassinate Xerxes, but with the flash over the wall, they realized they were just way too far out of position. And No Man's without a flash, without the ultimate either. It's just easy pickings for this team to go ahead and clean up even more in the back half.
Now Humanoid's hunting. Trying to find the knock, and the Black Shield is now gone. The Nocturne just goes in. They're just going to pick him off one at a time. This composition is merciless. Doesn't even need the 4 shot, just use the second one to find another kill. Splice now can set their sights with the Baron. They have the Mountain Drake, they have 5 members up.
And Anonysek's gonna be dead for another 25 more seconds. Unicorns of Love have no tank if they are to run in and try and face tank into this river. And Humanoid sitting there waiting to just blow up the first target.
GPL comes out, but it's not nearly as much damage as they need. Humanoid now playing with his food, trying to buy time for the rest of the team. Northscarin locked down, but he's not the center of attention, and that means the Baron will drop in favor of Splice. Humanoid now going to retreat. The flash forced out. Unicorns of Love getting crushed in this exchange.
Splice just pick up absolutely everything. Now, for the next 3 minutes, they have the Baron buff, and they have all the winning lanes, you know, with Xerxes' ability to quickly rotate between the 2 as well. We'll see the initial setup on this play one more time, because it literally was just Humanoid trying to get in range to set up for this assassination. Without that mid lane tower, the Unicorns of Love don't have control over their own jungle, and nothing demonstrates it better than that play right there. As I was saying, now with, you know, the Warmogs finished on Vizichachi, I think we just continue to see a Splice that sieges in mid with 3 members and then looks to collapse with Xerxes, either top lane or bottom lane. Free dives.
Northscarin, though, caught out. Maybe this could be a difference. Kabi walking forward with the 4 shot. They're going to do a chunk of damage to the GP, but they're still able to close this one out. Now comes the curtain call. Anonysek ready to step forward and try to block. They're not going to make sure Boss doesn't go down. And just can't afford to get caught out there. That's going to waste so much time on the Baron.
Look, it's just a massive blunder right there from Northscarin, because not only does he not have pushing side lanes, right, that are creating pressure, so in theory, you could make something happen. You see Humanoid actually trying to stack the minion waves here, which I think is a very smart choice from him. But at the same time, his allies aren't there either. He sees a Kale on the map. That's the only member, so of course he gets caught out when he walks in towards this bush, and that'll end up wasting a significant portion of this Baron.
Humanoid stack wave, though. Going to be matched by 2 members of the opposite side. UOL not. Their base is not broken open yet. And while it is a massive lead for the side of Splice, until they close this game, the Kale continues to become a larger and larger threat. It's a similar story for the Kai'Sa. Interesting, though, that she's opting to go for the AP build. Of course, have GP as a source of solid 80 damage on the top side. The Kale mostly magic. And now the Kai'Sa is going to be a bit of a split as well.
Now, Anonysek has ticked over to level 11, so he has the evolved Q and W for that extra slow from range. Could be effective at chasing down Humanoid.
Running, using the movement speed from the Shroud as well as he can. Trying to walk away. Edward now fishing. The root is there. They take him out instantly. No longer does the Shroud offer perfect stealth to duck every single point of CC.
Splice are going to try to trade this for 2 towers at the same time, though, but Unicorns will lick their wounds with this one. This should be effectively the end of the Baron push, with 30 more seconds left on Humanoid. Don't think that Baron will be able to be used to crack open the base.
7K gold lead, something that UOL now have to deal with. But the Unicorns fans are still here. They're still waiting. They're still ready. They know this composition can find them a win in the late game. But Ender, honestly, I think there's just so much pressure on the side of Unicorns to love to never split up. Because you see No Man sitting comfortably on the side lane, but there is a Jhin, there is a Nocturne. If he's ever face-to-face with an Akali and 2 members can suddenly influence a fight, he will go down in an instant. This pick is, or this comp is so fantastic at picking off individual members who are isolated.
Absolutely, and that's sort of the beauty of having this Nocturne in the jungle, and I think a Nana 6 Kha'Zix was supposed to be able to try and match that with the Moby Boot purchase, but we just have not seen that come to fruition just yet. Unicorns, they never want to play the full map. They never want to play for side lanes. Their, Miracle situation is going to be looking for a later game fight, but even then, while they do have a very powerful backline with the Kayle and the Kai'Sa, the front line isn't going to be there, and the dive from Splyce is going to be absolutely massive. So it still is not a free win, even in the late game, because just kiting back is not going to be super easy.
You just don't have a tank, and the enemy team does. You can't afford to make.
He's got a righteous glory. He's just chasing you down.
He's gonna walk straight into your face. The ulti now coming out from the Nocturne. Invisible trying to bide as much time as he can, flashing away from the fear. Barrel comes in. Cersei will back. Oh! Right over the wall!
And the hook.
Clean shot comes in from Kobbe. Deadly flourish. Last auto's gonna connect. That's it. I mean, without a single member available. UOL 4 strong, have to try to hold on. No Man's now running. The chain CC is there. Black Shield stops it in its tracks. Good on Edward.
Unicorns have to use the Gangplank ult to clear the waves because everyone else needs to step up an auto attack, which just is not going to happen. They'll hold on to their base, but now Splyce are going to pick up their second Infernal Drake. More and more things stacking in their favor. I realistically don't see much of a window now for Unicorns trying to fight against this.
It's just, it only gets harder as the Infernals start to stack. Everyone except for the Cho'Gath going to be happy to have those stats.
They really want this fight. They think someone's going to come and try and face check. You remember how aggressively Unicorns tried to fight around that last Infernal Drake, even without the cooldowns?
They also just have perfect vision in the jungle. And they know the Nocturne alone is more than enough to take this. The Kha'Zix was dead at the start of this, so they can't just wait for the pick. It costs them nothing to try to set that up. Of course, on the opposite side, always have to give a little to Creams. We talked about scaling. Second item for GP. Not really where he wants to be. Maybe 3 or 4 would be ideal. It's a similar story for the Kayle. The good news is the Kai'Sa, after grabbing that wave, should be pretty close to third item. Maybe that can be the difference in these big fights, but if you Kai'Sa ult into a Cho'Gath, he silences you and you die. So it's not easy at any point.
I mean, how do you actually kill Cho'Gath now with Adaptive Helm versus both Kayle and Kai'Sa? That is going to be slashing through and cutting down all of the on-hit damage that both of those champions are dealing. And even if you do, chunk him out a little bit, let's be real, you're not going to kill him. He has the Warmogs to heal on up, so you must attack Humanoid, but that's a 3-level lead.
Still doesn't matter. The Kha'Zix invisible wants to change. Oh,
it matters. It matters.
It absolutely matters. Humanoid. Now trying to run away from this one. No Man's can hopefully clear it out. The 1-for-1. Not ideal, but not bad. The shutdown going over to the side of UOL. A bit over-aggressive from Nana 6.
Definitely worth there for the Unicorns. Of course, Baron has not quite spawned just yet, so not going to be punished off of that. But it will actually be a 10-second window where Baron's going to be on the Rift and the Nana 6 will not be. So with Humanoid's TP being up, Splyce are still going to try and set up here inside of the jungle, maybe look for a pick.
Well, despite the jungler being down, UOL fans, ravenous, the crowd looking for some action here. Maybe Boss can be the difference maker. No Man's. If he has to burn his ulti here, it's going to be less than ideal. Vizichachi runs right into the Kayle. Despite the adaptive, good damage comes out, but it's not enough. The ulti comes in, stopping Cersei's ult. But now the ultimate comes in from Kobbe on the backside as well. The curtain call, the shutdown now into the jungler. They just did not have the full team there. Humanoid is still down. Northscar now has to run for the hills. The hook goes wide. The box buys a bit of space. Chachi sees an opportunity, though. He flashes forward. He's looking for a little bit more, but Anonasik can just look to clean up. He's half held by Kobbe. But now
here comes Humanoid.
The win. Humanoid on the backside. Eyes on the Akali. One shutdown. But the Akali can't just clean up. UOL. They'll just look like food to the rest of the team. Humanoid, can he go in? The ultimate
goes.
Available. He wants to get one. He gets shut down in an instant. I can't believe it. It seemed like a clean, easy closeout for the side of Splyce, but UOL find their moments.
Unicorns of Love find the fight in the jungle right there. The 5 versus 4 as Splyce get caught out. And now, unless there's some miracle to come through with Kobbe's 4th shot, there is no smite for Anonasik. They're actually going to try and wait him out right here. They're waiting for the reload. They see him on the ward on the other side.
Ooh. Will not get it. Baron to the side of UOL. They are right back into this game. A 4K deficit. Double Infernal going to be difficult to go up against, but UOL punishing the mistakes here on the side of Splice.
Splice, again, it's a 4v2 right off the bat, but Boss and No Man's able to kite it back, and then they're stuck inside this tight corridor. Kabe has to walk away. Just where is the damage coming through from the Splice team? If Kabe isn't autoing, if Humanoid isn't even in the fight, they actually can't deal the threat on towards the Unicorns of Love. And this is where they just go way too hard on the side of Splice. Humanoid's coming around the corner, but he doesn't have his ultimate, so entering this fight is almost impossible. If Humanoid has the R, he can get in here, but without it, Unicorns of Love can just sit pretty, press that A click, and No Man's now level 16 is going to be pumping out the damage.
You're just not tanky enough, Humanoid. The burst damage is there, and you can see happiness, claps, cheers, sighs of relief, every emotional reaction you could assume a Unicorns fan could have in a single coach cam. And Ender, we're talking about a very different game now. 3K deficit still, double Infernal still something that they have to deal with here, but are we just right back onto even footing in the next team fight?
I think we actually might be favoring Unicorns of Love at this point. Look at that. Level 17 Kale, level 15 Side on the side of Humanoid. When you get these shutdowns against people that are higher level than you get so much bonus EXP!
He's just going to get deleted. Tries to buy as much time as he can with his Zonies. Can't even make it out of this one. He's running for his life, but Inax now on a killing spree, and Onisic going to run away. Kabe's still a massive threat. Nocturnal just to stop the play in its tracks. There will be a knock up there. GP still willing to move forward. The play does not connect. Norscarian has a hook to dissuade a further dive, but they're just barreling down the mid lane. Unicorns of Love are unrelenting. They want to use this Baron buff as best they can. Kabe going to try to one-shot. Cannon creep there will clear it out as they set their sights instead on the bottom side of the map. Vizichachi walking over. He himself could be caught out. Xerxes forced a spell shield there.
This game is completely turned around, Dracos. There's still Baron buff for the Unicorns to use. Look at their items, too. 3 items on both No Man's and Inax. They have the defensive tools. Kale Ultimate, Zonia's for Morgana, a stopwatch for No Man's. The dive of Splice, I actually don't think is enough to kill the Unicorns anymore.
We're also at the point where splitting them up is just not an option. They've got Baron, they're grouped everywhere. 2 in the mid lane. Splice thinking like they want to attack that one. The rest of the team backing off, instead setting their sights on the Mountain Drake. The last Drake to spawn before Elder.
The game gets real interesting now because on one side you have just rapid fire consistent DPS. That's going to be the Kale, that's going to be the Kaisa coming from the Unicorns of Love. So our eyes have to be on those 2 players to be pumping out the DPS and to be staying alive until the end of the fights. Whereas Splice, their damage comes in bursts. You know, you have Cho'Gath's ultimate, the Nocturne assassination, Humanoid as well, and then Kabe, he's got 4 shots and then he's got to reload too. So Splice need to be much more cognizant in these team fights of calling out their major cooldowns when they can go forward and fight, and when they're on CD, when they go back. Because if they just walk in a line towards the Unicorns of Love, Kale's just going to swat them down.
The AoE is disgusting. I mean, between the Kale and the Acathian Rain from the Kaisa, you really have to respect this team. And you know, you have a Mercurial Scimitar. You've got a Maw. You've got an Adaptive Helm. It's not enough. There's too much magic damage. These champions scale too well as you move later in the game for single items to really be the difference maker. It's now all on Splice to execute in these coming fights to make sure they never end up in a situation where Humanoid is coming to the fight, you know, 10, 15 seconds later than he needs to be.
The question is, can Splice play full map press one more time? And with how strong the core of Unicorns of Love is, that doesn't seem to be a possibility. So right now, Splice are sending their soul lanes to push out those sides, but the Unicorns are never going to match them in the 1v1s. They're just going to go over and pick up minions, and they're never going to be forced to match because they are stronger when they group up in the mid lane. Splice no longer can pressure all 3 lanes simultaneously.
And I feel like if you're Splice, you're hoping to catch someone out, a rupture into a silence, make sure that they don't even get a chance to do anything in the exchange, because it's only going to get harder. Because you can see, despite really no tanky items for the Kale, actually quite tanky, presumably Resolve Tree taking a bit of overgrowth. It's a similar story for the GP, you know, just the Sterix, as well as the Phage health coming through on that Trinity Force, and Grass. But these champions are getting harder and harder for someone like Humanoid or Kabe to 100-0 before the enemy team can do anything.
I mean, if you just tick over to the gold numbers right now, you'll see Boss, who is absolutely bullied by Xerxes and Chachi in the early game, now has more money than Vizichachi. You see mid lane 2 for No Man's, an advantage as well. Bottom lane is where there still is a difference, but even then, Inax is matching itemization with Kabe at the moment, and it's all going to come down, I feel like, to a fight around the Baron in 1 more minute, because Unicorns of Love are just waiting for their moment. They're not pushing forward to get caught out overextending lanes. They know that time is on their side, and it's just these major neutral objectives coming up in the next few minutes that will determine their fate.
And I feel bad for Kabe because he's so far ahead, but he's also playing Jhin. And while he can kick fights off, while Curtain Call is a great way to start or finish a fight, it's that middle ground When the enemies are at 75% health, things are going to be very difficult. You want to be cleaning up. You want the rest of your team to soften them up. You want to walk through with each and every shot, finding a kill on that Jhin, because yes, your attack speed goes up later in the game. But that reload is always going to be miserable because that is the clearest window of opportunity. Anyone in the game can see it to dive on top of you. And who better to do that than a Kai'Sa, than a Kha'Zix? If you ever have to reload in a fight, you're probably going to die instantly.
Definitely something we have to be watching out for. Baron in 20 seconds, and Unicorns of Love have all the vision control they need around this objective. Keep your eye top left corner of your screen right now. There is a control ward on the side of Splice, so if Vizicachi or Humanoid wanted to try and come in from a flank, I think especially in a Akali could benefit from that. They can always channel the teleport.
Here comes Chachi. You talked about a flank. There's the Cho'Gath on the side. Black Shield can only protect one. Where's it going to go? Chachi very big. They're trying to shred through him. The GP ult's coming in, but they're just grouped up right into the GP ult. Half health. About a third of the health taken out. The hook will not connect. Nor Scarin now in trouble. And Unicorns of Love are just walking down the mid lane. Where's the turn going to go? Oh, he goes on the backside to Kai'Sa. That combo was sick, but Humanoid, he can be the difference maker. He can be the one to clear it up. Here comes the curtain call. Humanoid to the backside, but he's been revealed. The shutdown is there. They've stopped the Kai'Sa. But that's all that they have stopped in this exchange. It is a 1-for-1. It is mid for AD carry, and Unicorns of Love have control of the mid lane, which means they have control of the pit, and Splice will be forced to respond.
A crazy trade right there. Vizicachi too far forward, has to use his flash defensively to try and escape without his team right there. Splice had teleported into the mid lane to try and contest over the wave push, so they could be the ones to dominate vision around the Baron buff, but they lost their marksman, or they lost their mid laner now, so it becomes this contention one more time, where with Kabe and Vizicachi, they will get control and can now walk up into that river and clear away Unicorn vision.
Good that they can, but the fights are only going to get harder. No Man's in the meantime has backed, has cleared out bottom wave, and has picked up his death.
They're going for it.
Onasik waiting in the darkness. He has the crab, he has good vision. No Man's
Humanoid doesn't have TP, Inax does. This is going to go horribly wrong for Splice.
They're now retreating, they're now pulling up, and Onasik can just start to slow these members as they walk away. The TP now being responded. The entire team grouping up to force this Baron down. They have a single mountain to match Splice's. And they can, in theory, shred this objective. They don't want to take the risk. They don't want to take the 50-50. Scratch that. They're ready to go. Splice are just backing off. What are these backs being channeled? They have to contest this one. They can't afford to give this one up. TP now coming in on the backside. That could be the difference maker. What is going to happen? Vizicachi in the midst of everything. Curtain call now coming in. Humanoid can start to look to hunt. Multiple members slowed up, but a beautiful binding from Edward will stop that play. Instead, the Baron, the center of attention. A lot of chunked health bars on the enemy team.
Unicorns of Love coming in around on the corner. It's down to about 6,000 HP. They're going to poke them down.
Right in the GP ult. That's not where you want to be. No Man's just does 40 flashes, and he's not afraid. Humanoid into the back line. Can he be the difference maker? He goes gold, and he buys time. He buys space for the team. I don't think it's going to be enough. The hook comes in. Edward, not the target they needed. Humanoid down. 5 strong in the UOL. Nanasik doesn't even get hooked. North Scarin solo. Prey Seeker goes in. He sends it to the death. That's it. The side step from Kabe costs to support life. Vizicachi, you're so tanky, but it does not matter. The Cho'Gath gonna get walked down here. They cut through Vizicachi's health bar. No Man's on a killing spree. Unicorns of Love tie up the gold, and with this Baron, they will take the lead.
They'll have the Baron, the Elder Drake after it. Dracos, it doesn't feel like the Unicorns ever left Berlin. The crowd still chanting their name. And now they have everything in their favor. The items, the levels, the neutrals. Splice seem to have lost it all here as they were the ones to start this Baron buff. But Unicorns, they have so much damage from range. No Man's just flashing straight on into the fight. And then Humanoid caught out here will lose his life as the rest of the team can stall and eventually chase down with a beautiful snipe onto North Scarin to allow Inax into the fight and to pick up even more.
It could have been even worse. Of course, Vizicachi just gets walked down, but what a story for the Unicorns of Love, the best team in the LCL, in the CIS. You know, we saw the top half of this map on Vega. It looked good. They were so close. They lost out in a 5-game series to PvP to not make it to MSI main stage. Here today, they're not against PvP, they're against Splice, the third best team in the LEC, and they took it late game. And right now, it looks like Splice absolutely cannot match them.
Unicorns finally taking the gold lead. Look at that graph. The first time all game, and it comes after the 35-minute mark. Everyone talks about the late game kings of Splice, but it usually comes with some late game insurance policies they did not have in this game. Unicorns, they do, and now they have an inhibitor tower on top.
And they're gonna walk in. They're gonna break an inhib. Humanoid still fishing for a flank. Ender, I don't want to put you too much on the spot, but what do you actually do if you're Splice in this scenario?
Well, you just have to play wave clear right now. The only fights I think they win, they have to fight with a numbers advantage. And against the Baron, against the Elder Drake, you don't get to choose where the fight happens. You can just try to prolong the inevitable. So they just need to wait and then try to find picks. You get outscaled, but you're not going to win in the next 2 minutes.
And look, the only silver lining on this cloud is that it's a baby Elder Drake here. They got one dragon early in this game. It's only 90 damage. 45 is the base plus the additional single dragon. Humanoid, maybe this is the different fight, but the hook does not connect. Boss continues to step forward, continues to poke. Vizichachi doesn't take any damage, but the rest of his team sure does. The Rupture not gonna matter much. UOL are just walking in and taking objectives from Splice. There is nothing they can do.
They're going to keep taking more, too, Dracos. They have minions in mid lane and bottom lane. The question is, they just want to siege for the Nexus. The answer is going to be no. Instead, trying to set up for that top lane, as both Elder and Baron will be timing out in the next minute. It looks like they're just going to be stalling out for that next siege forward. Look at the items coming through now, too. Inax finishing off the Zhonya's Hourglass. You already thought it was hard to kill him with a black shield and the Kayle ult on top of his face. Now he's got invulnerability. That's just impossible.
And this is one of the things about a champion that can build hybrid builds. As normally as an 80 carry, you don't really have any ideal defensive items. Yes, you have QSS, and the situations where that good, it's wonderful, but you don't get a Banshees. You're not supposed to get a Zhonya's. Kai'Sa breaks all those rules. Kayle, in the late game, breaks all those rules. Those champions are sustained damage that you cannot burst down.
And Unicorns of Love are winning the fights before they even break out. Because of their ranged poke with the Kai'Sa W, the Cannon Barrage from Boss, the slows from a Nanosec, it becomes a 100 to 80% fight here when Splice get chunked out like Kabe does right there. So they have some sort of a flank built up. They know that if they wait, they're just going to lose a third inhibitor potentially without a lot of wave clear options on their side. So they got to make a move.
Maybe the flank can come through. A lot of good vision control set up by the side of Splice. Cersei and Humanoid can come in. They can try to be invisible. But of course, the tether from Morgana denies that Akali invisibility, something we have to keep our eyes on. The tower goes down. Chachi's caught out. The Lantern will take him back. They're not going to burn any more cooldowns than they need to, but there's the Cannon Barrage. Getting the fight kicked off. Boss stepping forward. He's fearless, but he's locked up again and again and again. And this is the time. Splice see their window of opportunity. And the window closes. They're not going to do anything. The Nocturne ult is gone.
Splice can never pull the trigger because they don't have the engage tools necessary. When you have a lead, you can find picks, but when there's minions running into your base and you're playing on the back foot, it's never going to happen unless Chachi just decides to flash on in there with the Righteous Glory. Unicorns of Love are playing it smart. They're waiting for the minions, now pushing up into mid lane. The top lane will be in their favor soon, and with the power of Nomads, he can just walk up and whack away at this tower.
Mid lane is crashing, bot lane is crashing. Those super minions, someone has to answer them. Someone also has to answer the 5 strong of UOL on the top side. Inax goes in. He forces Norscaron back, but he's used the ultimate. One defensive tool is gone. To the side of the Unicorns of Love. Splice trying as best as they can to hold on, but they're just going to have to walk away. They're going to have to give up their 3rd inhibitor. And if Unicorns of Love don't make a mistake, if there's no opening, that might be it though. Anonisic getting overconfident, stepping forward. The knockup won't land from Vizichachi. Humanoid continues to fish on the side, but the vision control they had moments ago is gone. UOL have cleared it out. He now has to walk into Fog of War to try to find a fight. It will not happen. And we're gonna have double super minion spawns, Ender. If Splice win this one, it feels impossible.
Slow and steady will win the race here for the Unicorns of Love. They have all 3 inhibitors down. Baron in a minute, Elder in a minute and 20 seconds. All you have to do is set up your vision now. A little bit light on that at the moment, but they can walk on into enemy territory, get the waves pushing, and Splice should never realistically have the chance to enter into the river. And if they do, that's when you jump on them. That's when you make them punished.
Consistency. Now what Unicorns of Love need, they know how to win. They know the Baron is theirs for the taking if they set it up smart. If they skip steps, something could happen. Something could turn against them. Yes, the odds are heavily stacked in their favor. You can still lose if you play a bad hand. Unicorns of Love fishing. Once again, looking for something, looking to find Vizichachi. It's a big hitbox on the Cho'Gath, but not the target you really want to engage on.
All flashes are up for Splice, so if they were to try and find an engage, it would be now, but if you get bound up, you're going to get taken down low.
Lock onto Vizichachi. Ward gets placed down, but will not stop Vizichachi from exiting. Ulti now comes out. They've gone it down on the Kayle, but the Kayle is going to stop that right in his track. Cersei now going to be in the middle of the team. It's not going the way that they wanted. Vizichachi with the stone plate proc is not tanky enough. Kabe has to run for the hills. The Kaze is just trying to find it, but a hero hook from Norscaron will keep him alive. Splice have remained alive in the game, and now they want to turn it Humanoid. This is the moment that he's been waiting for. The hooks from Norscaron. They finally connect. It was a long drought, but Splice are back in this game. The shutdown comes through, and they're looking to take control.
Look at the base though. Minions in on the Nexus. The towers are going to go down. They have to teleport back before they lose everything. They cannot start up the Baron.
We're buying time. Splice, hold on, but they have not won the game, not yet.
Even after the one fight where they have to commit so much to go forward, they lose both Nexus towers as the price. Both neutral objectives do still stand. And Splice, without a jungler, cannot rush back onto the map, cannot try to take them down. It was a brilliant fight from them to be able to turn around everything and focus down Inax, get that kill onto him early.
And I got to give credit to Norscair in that fight, hitting 2 clutch hooks. Really the difference maker. You've seen the last few fights, has not been able to find it. Difficult against a team with Black Shield with so much mobility as well. Hits them when they matter most. Stops Kave from going down to the likes of Banana Sick. Pressure now on. Norscair
going again.
A lot more confident. He knows the enemy team is split up. This is a position they cannot afford to take. But that's the Nocturne ult, currently traded for nothing. Boss is able to walk away. Inax still has flash in the fight to come. It is not the same story for Kave, for Norscair, and for Humanoid. Xerxes and Vizicachi have theirs. Maybe they can be the difference, but this is a CIS special. Sneaking the objective, no vision. They don't know where Inax is. They must have to sniff this one out soon.
It's the right setup here for the Unicorns of Love. All they have to do is hold their position around the Baron. That is the second Elder. They should win the fight, but even then, all they have to do is wait for Splice to come around this objective. With minions down in the bottom lane, there's a possibility they could just try and teleport in onto the base.
Clutch ward on the top side of your screen right next to Boss. Saving the day for Splice. They throw in the blue trinket just to say, hey, we know you're doing this. Trying to buy time for the team to come back together. 5 members there, Edward fishing. At any moment a binding hits, it could mean the end of a fight. A lot of pressure on both sides. 7K, 11K dropping. Baron getting lower and lower. No Man's just shredding through this one. Humanoid now moving in. Can they move over the wall? Can they steal this? They have the
Chachi!
The flash in! The beast! There is no chance to contest against the likes of a Cho'Gath, and the fight may still turn against them. They're trying to get it out. Comes the curtain call. Humanoid still off to the side. Vizicachi still going down. The rest of UOL will retreat. Splice take the Baron. A well
Look at him!
Inax goes in, takes out the jungler. This could be the difference maker. It's still 5 members strong from the enemy team. Inax will not bite off more than he can chew, but Humanoid has something to say about the rest of the team collapsing. If he kills Inax, maybe they hold on. Maybe he can be the difference maker. Humanoid gets taken down in the exchange, though not worthwhile. 2 members left on the side of Splice.
Splice stole the Baron, but they lost 3 members for it, and that is an exposed Nexus for 30 more seconds. At least minions coming down in the top lane. The Unicorns of Love have only one structure standing in their way, and a game 1 victory against Splice. It is just Kave and Norscair left to try and defend against this siege, and the Unicorns are going to take it all.
They're going to take the game, and there's nothing they can do. Unicorns of Love take it to the late game, and they take down Splice.
It was the Unicorns of Love that went for those late game insurance policies, and after finding just one fight around the Baron, around that 30-minute mark, everything went in their favor. It was still a close battle between these two teams, but at the end of the day, it was the Unicorns of Love that came out on top.
Just a wild game.